until all of us are free, none of us are free.
This is episode 2 of a 4-part series that coincides with the 1 Million Miles for Justice virtual event. We invite you to register and listen as you run, walk, or bike 25 miles or more between June 15th and July 15th, 2020. You can register for the event at any time before it ends on July 15th. So if you're listening when this episode comes out, it's late June and it's not too late. You can join wherever you are, and it's an excellent way to support the cause for racial justice and work on your own fitness goals at the same time. The cost is $25, and the net profits go to support the NAACP. And to help you learn a little bit more about what the NAACP does, this week's episode is an interview between Kate Schwartz and Tori O'Neal, the Chief of External Affairs, the NAACP. O'Neal shares more about how your dollars contribute to the fight for equality, as well as a few other ways you can get involved.
Okay, well, thank you so much for speaking with us today.
Sure, and I'm so happy to be with you today. My name is Tori O'Neal, and I'm the Chief of External Affairs here at the NAACP. I'm a part of the Leadership Council under President Derek Johnson, and I have the honor of working with some amazing colleagues and warriors for justice via our civic engagement, communications, and development fundraising membership teams.
When we interviewed Reynard and Virgil last week and talked to them about the 1 Million Miles for Justice event, they told us that as they were planning the event and deciding what organization they wanted to benefit, that they settled on the NAACP because of how active your organization is and because of the impact that they believe you all will have.
When Virgil and Reynard both, when they first called, and wanted to talk with us about having the proceeds of their event come to the NAACP, we were honored, and we also thought, this is so amazing. What they're doing through the 1 Million Miles for Justice, lifting up primarily Black communities, but all communities that can participate in this event that has to do with physical activity and health. It feeds right into a campaign that we had launched right before they called us, and it was called, it's a hashtag, We Are Done Dying. And we created that hashtag in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Little did we know when we launched that campaign, that hashtag, that it was going to actually address two pandemics, the pandemic of COVID-19 and the pandemic of racism. Because right at the time that we launched that hashtag and that campaign, we heard about the Aubrey murder in Georgia, and it became kind of a rallying cry at that moment. So when Reynard and Virgil approached us about this event having to do with health and wellness and power in Black communities, we saw a natural fit, a natural affinity.
So the net profits for the event will go to the organization. Can you tell us more about your organization and how you advance the fight for racial justice?
So NAACP Empowerment Programs is the name of our 501c3 organization. It's a sister organization to the NAACP, and it's where our donations are tax deductible. And the focus of our work, particularly during these times, is in civic engagement, criminal justice, health equity, and economic opportunity. But we also do work in education and environmental and climate justice as well. So as a nonpartisan organization, we fight on ensuring that democracy works for all in this country, not just for some. And so our civic engagement program is the way that we do that. We're actually launching our formal civic engagement program today, June 22nd, and it focuses on voter registration, voter mobilization, turnout, and protecting voting rights. And the last part, protecting voting rights, is done in concert with our Office of General Counsel and our branches in the field. So we're going to be putting every single dime to very, very good use.
How can individual donations help as opposed to larger donations, and can they help?
So I love this question. It speaks to the heart of what the NAACP is all about. And the answer is yes, individual donations, no matter how small or how large, all help. The NAACP is a 111-year-old civil rights organization. We have over 2,200 units throughout the country in 47 of the 50 states. And we boast over 2.5 million members who are volunteers in those units and state conferences. We are a little d democracy association, and we believe passionately in the amplification of the voices on the ground. And so in that way, no amount is too small. Every single dollar counts, as does every single voice.
So historically speaking, why is the NAACP important?
Well, so here's what I would say. Well, I could lift up the many accomplishments of the NAACP over its 111 years. I'd really rather focus on the here and now. And last week, the NAACP won our Supreme Court case, which was NAACP v. Trump. And the case focused on DACA, which stands for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. We know the value of affirmative litigation to ensure that our nation lives up to its ideals. And while people would probably be surprised to learn that the NAACP actually advanced a litigation that focused on immigration, what we know is that until all of us are free, none of us are free. And we saw the DACA litigation, of which there are dreamers who are of the African diaspora. They are a part of that. We saw that as our calling to stand up in that moment and to defend the rights of all, not just some. We're so thrilled that our litigation, in cooperation with all of the organizing and the blood, sweat, and tears of the folks on the ground, the organizers on the ground in communities across this country, that it all came together for victory in this case. And there was real conversation inside the association, and then it came to agreement that yes, we recognize discrimination when we see it. We recognize the need to lean in and the need to fight for the rights of everyone. And so this was a case where after conversation, it became a bit of a no-brainer that if we had the ability to bring it forward, that we should.
Are there other ways that you would recommend that individuals can help the cause of the NAACP? And if so, what are those ways they can get involved?
One, membership in the NAACP is a very, very good thing, to be plugged into the nexus of this organization and the work that we're doing. And so naacp.org is where people can go and actually sign up to become members of the organization. The other is that this week, we are formally launching our civic engagement program, and we are actively looking for volunteers to help us with the virtual boots on the ground to register and mobilize and turn out voters in this very consequential election year. So folks can go to naacp.org/volunteer and actually sign up to volunteer and help the NAACP as we work to vote like our lives depend on it, because they do. I would really like to give a big shout out and a thank you to Fleet Feet for partnering with 1 Million Miles for Justice on this event, of which the proceeds are benefiting the NAACP. This feels like a wonderful, very organic coming together, which is, quite frankly, representative of what we're seeing of the solidarity and the coming together on the streets in cities and towns across this country. This is an inflection point. It is a time for all of us to come together and really understand, keep those conversations happening, those uncomfortable but very necessary conversations that are happening in kitchen tables and on Zoom calls, day in and day out, around what is needed in this moment in our country. And that diversity and inclusion is wonderful, but we need to be having root cause, systemic conversations. And the fact that we're now saying the R word, that we're actually saying and naming racism as something that needs to be eradicated in this country is huge. So to Virgil and Reynard for launching this 1 Million Miles for Justice with their club in Alabama and all of the volunteers, for everyone who was already signed up, for Fleet Feet for supporting this organization as they are trying to do this amazing, amazing event. I just say thank you on behalf of the NAACP, our 2,200 chapters and units across this country, and our volunteers and members. Just thank you. We truly appreciate the support.
Well, Tori, thank you so much for your time today and for sharing this information with us and for all the wonderful work that you all are doing. We're really excited to be able to help even just a little bit.
You're very welcome. And let's just keep it going. Let's keep the conversations going, and let's keep those million miles for justice happening. Looking forward to the end of this event when we are all celebrating the journey.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode. You can find the full transcript on fleetfeet.com/blog. And be sure to tune in next week to learn about other organizations that support the Civil Rights Race Series. We'll be talking with some of the hidden figures who have made distance running what it is today, as well as why we need to amplify these stories and continue to grow the sport among underrepresented groups. Have a great weekend.